Okay, thanks for joining me. It's Thursday the 21st of April 2022 and I'm just reading through these leaked specs for the DJI Mini 3, a new drone supposedly coming out next week on the 28th of April. Time will tell. Now, before we get into the rumoured specs and the design changes and all that goodness, I always thought that a Mini 2 would be all the drone that I ever need. Now, this might still be the case, but having said that, the more I'm reading about it, the more it's pricking my ears up and tickling my fancy, shall we say. So yeah, I started off years ago with a Mavic Pro, an original Mavic Pro. Didn't have a clue what I was doing with it. I knew how to fly it, but not how to use it for taking films. I basically didn't video at all with it. I just took a few stills every now and again. Didn't know how to get the best out of it. Flew it very rarely, out in a field in Scotland somewhere, and after a few months of not flying it anywhere, I sold it. Left it a few years, never really got interested into the drone scene, and then I saw the Mini 1 that came out. I was like, do you know what? I'm going to have a look at this. So I bought myself one, crashed the first one. 50-50 DJI or operator error, we'll never actually know, but it's in the bottom of a lake somewhere in Bolton. That's all I'm going to say on that. Got a new one of those and then sold that on when the Mini 2 came out. Got a Mini 2, absolutely love it. It's a brilliant tool. I use it all the time for my work. I use it at weddings, use it for personal stuff, family trips out. It's great. Yeah, absolutely hats off to your Mini 2 DJI people. Got quite a few DJI products and I've been pleased with them all. This is not a commercial or a paid product placement thing. Yeah, they just make stuff that works and I like it. So yeah, I thought Mini 2, that's everything I need. I saw some suggested prices of the Mini 3 and I was like, ooh, it's a bit steep. Any self-employed person will know that you only buy the things that you need and not actually the things that you want. So I was in a bit of let's have it. And I've still not decided, to be honest, whether I'm going to go for a Mini 3 or not. But it is getting a bit tempting. So once the official announcement's made and the official specs have been released, and I can and dilly-dally and see what's right. I actually thought about getting an Air 2 the other day, but the whole A2 CFC, and it's like, again, cost-benefit analysis. Will it work? Is it worth getting? So I've held off. Right. So, Mini 3, here we go, thanks for waiting. Completely redesigned, still got full props, one on each corner, folding legs, still under 250 grams, which is important. I'll come back to that weight in a minute, but if you're watching this, you know about drones and you know what you like. So yeah, still under 250 grams, it's got new props, not sure if that's going to make it quieter, louder, or change the pitch again. Again, the beauty of the Mini 2 is you can hardly hear it. As soon as you get above 50 metres, very quiet. Good time to get hiccups. Let's cut and I'll come back to that. So yeah, as soon as you get above 50 metres, you can barely hear it. Depending on wind direction and stuff like that, or the environment you're in, super quiet. I love that. So yeah, more specs. Apparently the battery's been reworked and they've managed to squeeze up to 34 minutes out of the new standard battery, but bonus points, there's a rumour of a new Intelligent Flight Battery Plus which will go up to 47 minutes. Now we all know in the drone world, a bit like your miles per gallon in your car, it all depends on how fast you're driving your car and where you're driving it. I think the thing to take away from it is the battery will be at least as good, if not better, than the outgoing Mini 2, which is always nice, Never going to moan about having more of things, are we? The new battery, though, apparently will take the drone over the 250 grams weight limit, so you'll have to bear that in mind, depending on where you're flying. Now, here's the good stuff that we're interested in. So, a new sensor. Now, if you can work out how they put decimals and fractions in the same thing, then please let me know, because I've always struggled with them. I found with things like halves, quarters, eighths, sixteenths, but the new sensor apparently is 1 over 1.3 inches. Now, I can say it's bigger than the old sensor, but I have no idea what that number actually means. Most important thing is it's bigger than the Mini 2 sensor, so it'll capture more light. It's got HDR and dual native ISO. All good stuff. So all your blue hour shots, all your golden hour shots, all your glorious sunsets, nighttime shooting, all that will improve with this new sensor. In front of the sensor is the new camera, and it's got a new aperture of f1.7. Again, same as the sensor, it's a bigger aperture, it'll let more light in, so shooting in lower light conditions will be improved. Sticking with the camera, 4K 60 FPS, so you can effectively shoot at 4K 30 at half speed using 60 FPS. I don't know if there's going to be a crop involved in this. We'll find out when it's in our hands or on the shelves. But the way around, if there is a crop on it, just fly a bit further away. Yeah, increase your field of view. Not something I'll use very much, I don't think. I'm more of a 30 frames per second guy, but handy to have. Now this is interesting, 48 megapixel raw photos. Now I don't think they're true 48 megapixel, as in one for one on the sensor and stuff. I think it's going to be some kind of computational algorithm kind of thing, a bit like they use on the Air 2. So yeah, pinch of salt for that one. But again, it's only a rumour, so we're not putting a downer on it. It'll be interesting to see. So this should improve the quality of the stills when compared to the Mini 2, but by how much we won't know again until people start using them and we start seeing pictures from it. I do like these stills that we get from the Mini 2. They're a bit over sharpened and a bit too saturated with colours sometimes, but a bit of work in Lightroom, you can soon sort them out. But it does suffer from, I think it's only 12 megapixel still on the Mini 2, so we're getting 4 times the oomph. So hopefully we'll get 4 times the detail, but again, it's to be seen. Then the stuff that isn't really relevant to me as such, I mean, never say never, but I don't really use Litchi very much, or if I do, it's in a very controlled environment. I don't use the tracking features or the follow me things. But it's saying the Mini 3 has tri-directional obstacle detection. So there's forward, back and down. There's no side sensors apparently on this. But, be nice to see. Hopefully we won't get all the alarms off, going off all the time like on some of the other drones with obstacle avoiders. It's beeping at you when there's a tree nearby or, well out of the way and stuff. But again, time will tell. Handy to have if you're into that sort of thing or you've been waiting for it. I know a lot of people have been waiting for obstacle detection. But yeah, each to their own. APAS 4.0. This is the obstacle avoidance. So it's saying now that the Mini finally will be able to fly around stuff. We'll see how that goes. Again, it's not something I use, but I suppose if you're going to use the tracking and the follow me stuff, it's probably handy to have. I know, like I say, a lot of people have been waiting for that. OcuSync 3 or O3 transmission. Now this is interesting and important, I think, because even though it's saying there it'll provide a 1080p 30 frames a second live feed at distances up to 12 kilometres. We don't fly in the UK at 12 kilometres away. We don't even fly at 5 kilometres away because we've got to operate under VLOS under most circumstances. If you're a general flyer, we fly within visual line of sight. And I think the CAA have agreed to that being loosely about 500 metres. Now what this means is if the signal will travel 12 kilometres and you'll get a good feed from there, the good thing about that is that when we're all the way back here at 500 metres, we're going to get a super duper strong signal. So any dropouts or losses and things like that should be a thing of the past. Mini 2 is great for that, I think, compared to the Mini 1. So it'd be nice to see that next level. Apparently the gimbal will do the old TikTok vertical shots. Not something I think I'll use very much. I'm not a TikToker, but I know for certain long shots, if you film at a stately home, for example, and there's a long straight path with trees down the side of it, a vertical shot might look nice for that. Or even if you're just talking to camera, who knows. But yeah, handy to have, which certainly explains some of the new design at the front. Focus track subject tracking. Find creative ways to track your subject with Focus Track. This suite includes Active Track 4, Spotlight 2 and Point of Interest 3, which are 3 powerful storytelling tools. Until I use them, I won't know what I think of them, but yeah, always nice to have extra things. Master shots as well. We're getting master shots on the Mini 3. If you've got an Air 2S, you'll be fully aware of them. Just more of the fancy automated manoeuvres. I'm not going to list them all, but nice to have. And time-lapse. So speed up time with a few taps, creating an eye-catching time-lapse or hyperlapse video. Difference of time-lapse and hyperlapse, if you didn't know. Time-lapse, you stood there with the camera clicking like this. Hyperlapse is the same thing, but the camera's actually on the move. So that could be quite interesting. I like the sound of that. It says capture moving traffic or rolling clouds and add some drama to your videos. Yeah, so again, a bit of marketing bump for there. But yeah, I think time-lapse and hyperlapse I'm certainly into. Fast transfer, super fast Wi-Fi downloads of up to 30 megabits per second. Very good. Always in favour of speedy transfers. Nothing worse than sitting there forever trying to download something. Panoramas, showing landscape panos, 180 wide angle, vertical and sphere panoramas. If that's your thing, then I'm sure you'll be pleased with it. And finally, a digital zoom, up to 4 times digital zoom. It allows you to capture scenes without disturbing them and explore shots from afar. Now, I know with the Mini 2, when you're shooting in 4K, you can zoom in. I think it drops it down to a 1080 because it's a digital zoom as opposed to an optical zoom, like with the lens. So yeah, I'll be interested to see. I'll be interested to see if it stays at 4K when it's on a 4 times zoom, but time will tell. So anyway, that's a quick rundown. So pricing wise, this is quite interesting, and I think it goes on to the Osmo Action, where they made that into a modular thing. Excuse me. Now apparently you'll be able to buy the drone by itself, but you buy the drone on its own, and then you pair your Mini 2 controller to your Mini 3 drone. Good way to save money, rather than having tons of these drones lying around, especially if you've got an Air 2 or an Air 2S. You can buy the drone, the drone and the controller, just like normal, and then you can buy the drone and the super fancy controller which has the screen on. Not seen any actual specs or footage of that yet, but I don't think I'll be using that. Like I say, if I need a detailed thing, I'll put an iPad on or an iPad Mini and use that on the existing controller. But you know, something to be said for not having to take your phone out and turn it off or put it in airplane mode or this, that and the other. If you want it all in one, it might be the way to go, especially if it's got a very bright screen or 1000 nits or something like that. Not sure I'll go for that. If I do go for a drone, I'm not committing myself to it. And then the Fly More, apparently it's a separate bolt-on now, so you buy your drone on its own, and you can buy the Fly More, which is batteries, props, ND filters, that kind of thing, or you can buy it, you know, with any of the things. But it'd be interesting, yeah. So again, in a week's time, we'll know what's what, hopefully, and I'll be sat there hovering over the shopping basket, thinking, do I buy it? Do I not? What are your thoughts on the Mini 3? Are you like me? You're thinking, well, do I need it? Do I want it? Is the upgrade going to bring me much more performance compared to what I've got now? Is it just an expensive luxury? Are you bored of these constant upgrades? Like, you know, every 12 months, it's like, do we do this? Maybe if it's going to be a first drone, let me know what you think of that. If you know anything about the new controller, let me know that in the comments. Anything like that, welcome your thoughts, and yeah, like I say, in a week's time we should know. Catch you later.